People think I'm crazy, because I worry all the time. If you paid attention, you'd be worried too. You better pay attention or this world we love so much might just kill you. Randy Newman. Hello, you crazy kids. I am your host and fellow human, Daniel. If you are not a human, I apologize. Welcome to the second episode of Voices in My Closet, this voice talking thing that I will be doing on a weekly basis, or as consistently as I possibly can. Thank you for tuning in. If you're not tuning in, then that's okay too. You probably won't hear this. But I want to apologize starting off with this voice that I have. I am in the midst of a cold, and I am working nonstop trying to get over it. I've been eating a lot of soup and taking protein and drinking a lot of fluids and trying to get enough sleep, which is a hit or miss. And I'm just trying to beat this thing into the ground as soon as I can, so that I'm at 100% or as close to 100% as I can by next week. So bear with me. You're going to have to deal with my nasally sounding voice for today's episode. But it kind of fits with the theme today, which is obsessions, fears, and phobias. And, with being sick, I try to avoid being sick by washing my hands a lot and eating healthy and exercising. And I've kind of been on a lull with the whole exercising and eating healthy thing since this moving transition. But I've been getting back into it. But of course, I had to get a cold before I could fully get into it. And I tend to wash my hands a lot. That's like the biggest thing that I do, I think, to avoid getting sick. And I do it to the point where people actually call me out for it and say that I wash my hands too much. And they say, well, you need to let your body get used to all the germs and build an immunity to it. And I'm thinking, if I've gotten a cold this many times in my life, I feel like I'm getting a better immunity to the different strains of the cold than most people if I get it this often, even though I'm washing my hands so much. But it's just one of those things that it's kind of like a germaphobe thing of mine. I'm not a huge germaphobe like Adrian Monk from the TV series, if you caught my quote from the beginning of the show. But I do tend to wash my hands a lot just because I'm constantly touching things that aren't clean, like doorknobs or cell phones or computers, different utensils that other people use. And I just feel like my hands feel like they need to be cleaned. Even when I shake hands with people, a few minutes later, I will go for the hand sanitizer. I have my own hand sanitizer bottle at my desk at work. And I think that pretty much gives you an idea of the kind of person that I am. I'm not a huge germaphobe, again, but just the whole washing hands thing, washing my face, I'll make sure that if I do touch one of those things, I won't touch any other part of my body until I get my hands washed, because that's one of the things that I'm always afraid of getting sick. And I also don't want to spread germs to other people either. That's one of the things that I hate doing. I hate when other people spread their germs to me. So it's nothing to offend you if I immediately wash my hands after I shake your hands. It's not that I dislike you. It's just that I like my health very much. I love being healthy and being clean. So I think that's one of the things. And with being clean also comes my need to be organized and be a perfectionist. And I tend to think that I have OCD tendencies, not on that extreme level, because OCD can be very extreme and very serious. But I just tend to tell other people that I have OCPD, which you may know as obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is basically self-diagnosed, and you have a few different quirks that are a bit of compulsions, but they're not to the extreme level as OCD. So I do things like I wash my hands a lot, which is one of those tendencies. I also like to stay very organized, and I'm very much a perfectionist. And it's funny because I actually remember reading a couple years ago, I went through my old scrapbooks from grade school, and one of my kindergarten teachers, my grade, they had a different name for report cards back then. My progress report. She said that she said, Daniel is a bright child, but he tends to be a perfectionist, which causes him to fall behind in assignments. And if that doesn't define me as a person in every single way, I don't know what does, because I still exhibit those things. And I've learned to move away from them a little bit, so I'm a little more okay now, but at the same time, I'm still very much a perfectionist. I still like to stay organized. Everything has its place. I don't believe in organized chaos. Like, when people tell me that, I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because everything can be cleaned and you can still have no trouble finding things, even if they are put away and cleaned up. And I mean, man, it bothers the heck out of me, because I just love everything to be organized and in place. And there's sort of like a feeling of not self-pride, but just accomplishment when I see everything, almost a feeling of relief too, when I see that everything's organized. And it just makes me feel so much better. I clean for fun. I do laundry. I clean up my room. I vacuum. I rub the stains off of walls with a magic eraser, and it just makes me feel a lot better. And for all I know, that can mean that I'm a psychopath or a sociopath. And I don't know if that's the case. I don't know what'll happen to me, but you should all probably keep tabs on me just to make sure that that is not the case. Yeah, so that's one of my tendencies. That's one of my obsessions, I think, is constantly staying clean, staying organized. Probably my biggest ones. And I don't know why so many people obsess about all these different things. It's like, that one thing that bothers you about yourself or about other people. And I think I mentioned this a little bit last time, but there's just that one thing that kind of eats away at you, and you need to fix it. It's something that you need to fix, and I'm constantly trying to do that with myself. And I just remember, in terms of being a perfectionist, when I was in middle school, I was in art class. I loved art class, first of all, and I always got 100% on my projects. But I just remember I was always 2 or 3 projects behind everyone because everything needed to be perfect. I was so careful. I was so precise. And I'm such a worrywart, especially when it comes to grades and something like that, because when my creativity does not get me to the point where I need it to get me, I feel I'm very hard on myself. And I don't like that feeling of not meeting the goal that I set for myself, even if it does set me back way behind everyone else. So it's been a problem. It has been a problem, and I've noticed that it's been a problem, but I don't feel like fixing it because it's a part of me, and I just like cleaning and organizing. I love it. And who knows, maybe my future girlfriend/wife will appreciate that. Who knows? Or maybe she won't. Maybe she'll think that I'm a sociopath. But moving away from the perfectionist obsessions and things like that, we also have phobias and fears. And when we're kids, we tend to have not as rational fears as we do when we get older. When you're a kid, maybe you're afraid of the dark, maybe you're afraid of clowns, maybe you're still afraid of those things. But for me, I was afraid of the dark as a kid, and I didn't grow out of that until I think high school. And now I thrive in the dark, and I love it. I can't sleep unless it is complete pitch black, and I love it that way. Like, if it's not pitch black, I will like tie a sock, like a long tube sock, around my face so that I can't see any light. And that's probably another weird thing that I do. And we'll do another episode where I'm just talking about weird things that I do. But as I got older, I started developing different fears, including my fear of heights and my fear of falling. And I know I'm going to get this wrong, but I believe the fear of falling is basophobia, and the fear of heights is acrophobia. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put somewhere below whether or not I was right about that. But I just the idea of being up really high, the air's a little thinner. What happens if you fall? If you fall, well, then you're gonna die. Either that, or you're gonna really hurt yourself. And if you fall from a really high height, you could pass out before you even hit the ground, which I think is also very terrifying. If you're in an airplane and the airplane goes down, that's one of my biggest issues with falling and heights. They're both intertwined, and and airplanes and roller coasters are the biggest issues for me. More so airplanes because they're much higher. And I just remember when I was a kid, I went on airplanes a few times, and I was fine. I loved airplanes. I thought I thought it was so cool to be flying over the Grand Canyon, and it wasn't a big deal. But now that I am older, I've developed a bigger fear of the airplanes and the heights and the falling. And oh man, I just remember when I went to Los Angeles last spring, I was at the airport. I'm like, okay, I'm fine right now. I'm okay. I'm a little nervous, but everything's good. I'm not on the plane yet. And as soon as they start boarding us, I'm thinking, it's not too late to turn around. I can just turn around and forget this whole thing and just go home. And I'm glad I didn't, because a lot of good stuff came out of that. But I'm fine. As you can tell, the plane did not crash. We're all good there, which is more than I could have hoped for. But at the same time, like even then, I've been on a plane several times after that, and I still I get terrified when we take off. As soon as we board the plane, I immediately buckle my seatbelt. I close my eyes. I latch myself. I clamp the seat with my hands as tightly as I can, thinking that that's going to help me. I pray, and I just hope that nothing bad is going to happen. But man, it still shakes me every single time. Just planes. Let me know if if you don't like planes or heights or falling, anything like that. And another fear that I've had for quite some time. I've had this since I was a kid, and it's been my fear of spiders. I've never been a fan of spiders. We've always had spiders in our house or in my apartment, and it's just one of those things that I never ever wanted to deal with. I never wished they existed. Even though I'm sure there is some food chain sort of thing that makes them vital for humans to survive. But both spiders and centipedes just terrify the heck out of me, and I can't kill them. If I am to kill them, I will use my spare shower rod and rubber band a paper towel to it, extend it as far as it can go, and then I will try to nail the spider or the centipede when it's on the wall or on the ceiling. But you never want it to be on the ceiling, and then you kill it, and then it falls, and then you can't find it because you don't know if it's dead. It could still be alive. It could have run away as soon as it fell. That's the other scary thing, especially with centipedes. Once they're gone and you don't see them, you don't know when they're going to turn up, and they're going to turn up at the most inconvenient time. You're going to wake up and it's going to be on the ceiling, and you're terrified because what if it falls on you? And even if it doesn't, you don't want it in your bed. And I've had that experience before. And it's just, it makes my skin crawl, no pun intended. No, definitely not. And I've had bad experiences with spider bites, and I didn't get any superpowers from them, which was very upsetting. So I don't know exactly whatever happened in my childhood that made me terrified of spiders, but, quite literally, I will not touch them unless I have a 39.5-foot pole. The Grinch song rings true in my case. But everyone has their own fears, and I think that that might be an irrational fear for me. I'm your typical Ron Weasley in that sense, but I just try to avoid those anytime that I can. I'll get somebody else to kill him if I can. If anybody ever tells me to set it free, I think that they're the most insane person ever, because I can't. I don't. It's just me. I don't think they should be on this earth. I don't think they're contributing to anything for my own benefit. So I'm okay if they just go away. Just go away, spiders. Go away, centipedes. I'll be okay. I think the rest of us will probably also be okay. I'll do some research and see how they benefit us, but I will be okay. So let's just get rid of them. Maybe not. Anyways, that might be a more irrational fear for me. But, let me know what your fears and phobias are. If you have any OCD, OCPD tendencies. If you're a perfectionist like me, let me know so that I don't feel as crazy as I feel right now talking about it. What are your fears? What did you used to fear? You can get as deep as you want. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. And also let me know how you're feeling about this format. I have changed a few things up. People said that they wanted to see more of my face, and I'm still trying to get close enough to the mic, but also move my face around a little bit so that you can see it. And I did some stuff with the lighting too, because there were some issues last time with the lighting. I had to fix some settings on my camera. Just give me some feedback, some criticisms. I got mostly positive feedback from my first episode, so I just like to hear from you and just know what I can do to make this better. I'm trying to get this around the 15 to 20 minute mark. Maybe not do as long as 30 minutes yet, just because my computer can't handle that. So yeah, let me know what your tendencies are, what your obsessions are, and I will talk to all of you next week, hopefully with a better sounding, less nasally voice. Unless you like this, then I could probably mimic it. But until then, have a great week.